Okay, I want you to imagine something. Picture a TV show that was on every single weekday. I mean, hundreds and hundreds of episodes, just packed with drama. And now, imagine it just disappeared. Poof, gone. Well, today, we're going to try and solve a real television mystery. The story of a lost soap opera called The Catlins.
No, really, have you ever heard of it? If you have, you're in a super exclusive club. Because for a show that produced so much content, it has pretty much vanished from pop culture. It's kind of wild.
555. That's the number of episodes we're talking about. Just let that number sink in. That's more than Breaking Bad, The Sopranos, and Fleabag all put together. It's just an insane amount of TV for a show that basically nobody remembers.
So that's the big question, right? How does a show with that many episodes just fade into nothing? To even begin to answer that, we've got to go back in time, all the way back to the early days of cable TV, which was basically the Wild West. All right, let's get into it. This is a real soap opera mystery, a little slice of TV history from the 80s that got lost. And at its heart, the Catlins had a premise that's as old as time itself. Two families who absolutely hated each other. This show had a really short but super intense life. It kicked off in the spring of '83, and get this, it aired a brand new half-hour episode every single weekday. But then, just 2 years later, by spring of '85, it was gone, just like that. So the whole show was built around this classic, juicy family feud. You had two super powerful families in Atlanta, and they were just locked in this epic battle for money, power, and, everything. Okay, so in one corner, you've got the Catlins. They were headed by this widowed matriarch, Catherine. They owned Catlin Industries, and they were definitely supposed to be the good guys. And in the other corner, the Quinns, described as a somewhat evil banking family, which is just a great description. Their patriarch was this creepy guy named Medgar, and his sons were just as shady. No question, these were the villains. And the drama? Oh, it was pure classic soap opera stuff. You had old grudges, cutthroat business rivalries, and of course, you gotta have a forbidden romance, right? So, a Quinn daughter, Eleanor, goes and marries a Catlin. As you can imagine, that just poured gasoline on the fire. And when she was later murdered, well, that's when things really exploded. But here's the thing, the story might have been classic soap, but how they made the show was totally different. The Catlins wasn't just some other daytime drama. Nope, it was actually a pioneer for television. First off, you have to get what its home network was, Superstation TBS. See, back in the early 80s, cable was still this brand new, kind of wild thing. Channels like TBS were sent out all over the country using satellites, so for the first time you could have a national audience that wasn't watching one of the big three networks, ABC, CBS, or NBC. And that's exactly what made this show so groundbreaking. For starters, it was the very first daily soap opera made just for cable. That had never been done before. And second, it was filmed completely in Atlanta, Georgia, which was a huge deal back then. It basically proved you didn't have to be in New York or LA to make a big daily TV show.
Oh, and here's a great little piece of trivia for you, one that connects this forgotten show to a total TV legend. You want to guess who the announcer was for the Catlins? It was Rod Roddy. Yep, the same guy who would go on to famously tell people to come on down on The Price is Right. How cool is that?
Okay, so we've got the plot, we've got the history, but what was it actually like to watch the show? Since it's nearly impossible to find today, we really have to lean on the memories of the few people out there who actually remember it.
This one comment I saw on a forum just says it all. You can really feel what it's like to be a fan of something that's lost. That feeling of, wait, does anyone else remember this, or is it just me? You just know those few episodes they have on an old tape are like gold to them.
And then there's this comment, which I think points to something else about the show's appeal. It seems like, well, it was one of those shows that was funny, but wasn't trying to be funny, Like a lot of soaps from that time, the drama was so over the top that it kind of became unintentionally hilarious, which gave it this campy vibe that people really loved.
And this last quote, wow, it really shows you that for some people, the Catlins was a really big deal. It wasn't just another soap opera to them. For this person and their mom, it was the only one they ever watched. Ever. And that created this special memory that's obviously stuck with them all these years later. So you add it all up, it was a pioneer, it had this small but really dedicated fan base, it made a whopping 555 episodes. It all comes back to those two big questions.
Why did it get canceled, and why has it been so completely forgotten?
Well, the reason it got canceled is, unfortunately, pretty simple. Even though it was groundbreaking, it just never managed to grab a big enough audience across the country. And for a daily show, the costs were high. So after 2 years, TBS just had to pull the plug.
And why did it disappear so completely after that? You really have to remember the time it was made in. This was before everyone had VCRs, long before the internet or streaming services. Back then, when a show got canceled, it was often just gone. It didn't get sold into reruns, and because there's so little information about it online even now, it's become a genuine piece of lost media.
So, at the end of the day, no, the Catlins wasn't a huge hit. But I think its real legacy is summed up perfectly by that one fan. It was a gallant effort. It was this bold, ambitious experiment that really tried to push the boundaries of what television could be, and it proved that you could make great stuff anywhere.
You know, the story of the Catlins is such a fascinating peek into TV history, what gets remembered, and what just gets lost to time. It really makes you wonder what other forgotten shows are just out there waiting for someone to find them again.
So with that in mind, what soap opera should we dive into next? Let us know what you think in the comments. And hey, if you liked digging into this mystery with us, please don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more explainers. Thanks so much for watching.